Hey boys and girls, remember that show called The Twilight Zone? Me neither. Well, anyways, a while ago, James Rolfe did a video on his favorite top 10 episodes from the original Twilight Zone. But today I'm not talking about that genius Rod Sterling produced. I'm talking about its very much underrated offspring. The new Twilight Zone series from the 1980s. If you've never seen it, boy, I think you're missing out. I love the show and I want to give my top 10 favorite episodes from this series. And I hope when I'm done, you'll give it a chance. Before I get into this, I want to comment on its introduction. Now, the original Twilight Zone opening was a classic, obviously, but holy shit, this is by far the creepiest introduction I've ever seen. First, we're in the mountains, and then, oh my, there's a window, and, oh, what the fuck? I don't even know what's going on. I like how Rod Sterling kind of fades in there at the end. Oh, and then it has the original Twilight Zone music, and then it adds its creepy tones right there. Yeah, but anyways, I don't know what the fuck I just saw, but let's begin on the top 10 Twilight Zone episodes from the 1980s. Why top 10? Because fuck you. Matter of minutes. A married couple wakes up one morning and find out the world is being constructed around them. Holy shit. They meet a man who is in charge of this operation and explains to them that every single minute of time has to be built from scratch. There's not much to say about this one, you really have to see it. But the concept is trippy, makes it worthwhile. Shadow Play. This is a remake from the original Twilight Zone with the same name. The episode is about a man convicted of a murder, but he claims this is all a dream. Now, since this is the Twilight Zone, of course it's a dream. It basically goes note for note of the original, so it's just as good. The cool thing about this episode and the original is that it brings up the age-old question, is life a dream? Profile in Silver. A descendant of John F. Kennedy travels back in time to observe the JFK assassination in 1961. He doesn't feel right about knowing this and intervenes the assassination. This creates an alternate timeline that will result in the destruction of humanity. Basically, Kennedy's supposed to die. The only way to fix it is if history goes the way it should have. The ending goes where you don't quite expect it, but it's a great one. I'll leave you with Kennedy's fantastic final speech.
History records many facts, some of them right, some of them wrong. But let the record show that in any age, good or bad, there are men of high ideals, men of courage, men who do more than that for which they are called upon. You will not always know their names, but let their deeds stand as monuments, so that when the human race is called to judgment, we may say, this too was humanity.
Time and Teresa Golowitz. A composer dies and gets a visit from the devil. The devil offers the guy a gift in exchange for visiting hell once in a while to compose some music. The gift is that he can go any time in the past, present, or future and do with it what he pleases. The guy chooses the night he blew with his high school crush. He goes back in time as a young man, and it's cool to see him interact with people he knows and what they will become. However, this episode is much greater than his hots for his high school crush. It's about Teresa Golowitz. Who's that? Nobody. But this is the night she committed suicide after so many times being ignored and never appreciated. Where does this go? Watch the fucking episode, but I'll give you an insight. Teresa can sing like an angel. To see the Invisible Man. In an alternate, seemingly utopian world, a man is convicted of being an asshole. Basically, in this world, people can be sentenced to being invisible for at least a year if they're not nice and social. However, they're not technically invisible, they just get a mark placed on their forehead letting everybody know to completely ignore them. But there are benefits to this. You can basically do whatever you want because by law, everybody has to ignore you. You can steal, break stuff, and even go into the ladies' locker room. But over time, the novelty wears off for the guy and he begins to need human contact, and it eventually drives him nuts. I'd rather not say anymore, but this is a good lesson of human connection, which is something we need. Little Boy Lost. A photographer meets a kid named Kenny and they have a lot of fun spending the day together. During this time, the woman is choosing between her boyfriend and a big job. Things start to get creepy as Kenny starts appearing everywhere, even in her own house.
How did you know where I lived?
I can't really say anymore, but check it out. It's a good one, and its ending will make you cry. The Star. A priest and a scientist argue over the existence of God aboard a spaceship in the future. The priest believes in a higher grand design while the scientist believes in random patterns. Later they discover a long-dead planet that was destroyed by a supernova. That same supernova that killed an entire race was the same light that shined over Bethlehem the day Jesus was born. Upon discovering this, the priest cries in anger towards God because he's mad at him for thinking the destruction of these people was unnecessary. The main thing I like about this episode is that the argument of God is never solved. The existence, whether he does or not, is basically left up to speculation. And the ending to this is rather beautiful. What is the ending, you may ask? Go watch it and find out for yourself, and maybe grab a tissue. Paladin of the Lost Hour. An old man named Gasper is attacked by some muggers who want a special watch. He's helped by a man named Billy, and he takes him back to his apartment. Billy soon discovers that Gasper is dying. Over the course of a couple days, the two really get to know each other. We discover Billy served in the Vietnam War, and it has brought nothing but guilt on his shoulders. And Gasper's always bringing about how much he misses his girl. The dialogue between these two is really top-notch. Anyways, they watch the news and discover how close a nuclear war might be. Gasper claims it won't happen because it's only 11 o'clock.
Well, I've got news for you, Dad. Your watch has stopped. It's almost 4 o'clock.
No, it's 11.
Where this episode goes from there, you would never guess in a million years. But it's still one of the greats. It's a heartfelt story about humanity, life, and the universe itself that leaves you with something to hold on to. Check it out, it's a real tearjerker. Her Pilgrim Soul. Speaking of things that make you cry, this is one of the biggest tearjerkers on the list. It's about two scientists who create a hologram projector. One day, a fetus pops up on it, then a child, and then a full-grown woman. They talk to her and learn about her life and question whether she is a real human soul that they are talking to. One of the scientists eventually falls in love with her over time. As much as I love this one, I really can't say more. You really have to see it for yourself. It's about 40 minutes, so it's a long one, but it's probably one of the best endings that this show has ever produced. It's very sad, but leaves you with a good feeling about love and the life after. Grab a box of tissues, this one's worth your time. Dead Run. Oh yeah. If you know what I'm talking about, then right now you might be like, what the fuck? Okay, hear me out first. The thing about this one is it really hits me close to the chest in so many ways. For starters, this is the first episode I ever saw. The story is about a truck driver named Johnny who gets a job driving souls to hell. His first day on the job, he enters hell breaking up a riot and hears people's pleas and mercy from him, explaining that they weren't all that bad, yet they ended up here.
I had a family, a wife, 2 sons. I loved them. I did everything I could for them. And maybe I didn't go to church every Sunday, and maybe I didn't even believe there was a God. But what kind of God sends you to hell just for not believing in it? Why, mister?
He talks to the guy that currently runs hell, who leaves him with some bitter words like, we're just following orders, and this is tradition from the Old Testament.
As it says in Psalms, the ungodly are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Sinners, John. The murderers, the muggers, the hustlers, the pornographers, atheists, heathens, and so-called humanists.
You mean anyone who doesn't measure up to your standards?
Not my standards, John. The only standards that matter. Age-old, inviolate standards that God-fearing people have observed for centuries.
Johnny realizes that some of these people aren't that bad and do not deserve hell. In order to explain why this is my favorite, I'm giving away the ending to this one.
What about you, ma'am?
I don't know. I never harmed anyone. Not intentionally.
What about you, miss?
Me? I was a junkie. I poisoned myself with all kind of drugs. I was stupid, I admit it. But can they send you to hell for being stupid? For hurting no one except myself?
I don't know why I'm here. Unless... No, that's crazy. You wouldn't put me here just for being gay.
The reason why this episode gets me is that my main problem with religion, or Christianity for that matter, is hell. I am disgusted by the idea, and I have a few videos on YouTube here explaining why. I'm the kind of guy that believes Hitler doesn't even deserve such a punishment, let alone your average Joe. This episode basically displays that in greatness. It doesn't exactly give the finger to the Bible, it just shows people that hell isn't what everybody deserves, despite what Ray Comfort in the Bible says. It's a story of doing what's right, fair, and just. And my God, do I love Johnny's final words.
It's a risk for you, too. Why are you doing this?
I remember this story back in Sunday school about how between the crucifixion and the resurrection, Christ spent some time in hell, rescuing the righteous, the ones that didn't belong. Harrowing hell, they called it. I guess you could say I'm just following an old tradition. Harrowing hell.